Channel 2, English. 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 Channel 2, English.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the last press briefing with the S&D Group of this year here for the last plenary session ahead of Christmas in Strasbourg. And of course, I hand over to our Group President, Iratxe García Perez, and then afterwards it's time for your questions. Merci.
Buenos días.
Hello, everyone. Very good morning to all of you. This is our last meeting, indeed, with you before the end of the year. So you will allow me, even though later we're going to have another opportunity to be sharing with you some time for those of you who will not be able to attend the cocktail party. Let me wish you the very best, and I hope that you'll have a restful Christmas season, happily joined with your family, and then you come back in full shape for the rest of our term. Let me take you through the main items this week, and later we'll get into the Q&A part of this. Before I begin on plenary, however, do allow me to say this. It's something you probably know about the vote taken yesterday in the Economic Committee. But before we begin about the details of the agreement reached yesterday at the Economic Committee on regards the economic governance package, today the European trade unions and trade union members are making a demonstration in Brussels in order to call for the defense of the rights of workers and for an end to austerity. And I should like to convey the support and the solidarity of the S&D Group towards the European trade union movement. We will not let them down. We'll stand side by side with them, defending all of these rights and defending that social Europe that we want. As you know, there was a vote taken at the Econ Committee where our group was asking, first of all, to postpone the vote, not because of the contents of the agreement that had been reached, but because of the need of having more time in order to be able to explain that content to the civil society and to trade unions. This was not accepted. Postponement was not accepted, and this is why we supported that position of the European Parliament, because indeed, this is reinforcing a very important position, since we're incorporating, first of all, the social conditionality of the economic governance package, also making sure that the reduction of the debt should be done in a flexible manner so that there are not cuts in essential social policies, and also making sure that there should be more investment, particularly more investment into the policies that Europe wants, fighting climate change, a greener industrialization, more sustainable industrialization. Now the Parliament has taken its decision. Well, the decision is there, and ECOFIN also will have to be taking its own decision so that it can be debated jointly. by this Parliament. Now, on to plenary. You know that tomorrow we shall have the President of the Government of Spain in Strasbourg. He'll be taking stock of the Spanish presidency in front of the plenary. And let me tell you this. I think we can be very proud indeed of the work done by this presidency. I think we can also be very satisfied with the kind of success that we've reached in negotiations under this presidency. Parliament has been doing essential work, and we also recognize the work that has been carried out to reach agreements that are essential for the European agenda, particularly as regards, for instance, the commitment to ecological or green transition. You know that even though there has not been a final vote in plenary, we've got the nature restoration law moving forward. Contacts also with Latin America, where for the first time after almost 10 years, there was a summit that was held with Latin America, and there was a possibility there to discuss issues of competence to both sides of the Atlantic, and also the success of the presidency in adopting the very first law on artificial intelligence. The truth of the matter is that we still are missing the final vote of the Parliament, but after marathon-like meetings in Parliament and trilogues that I believe were very interesting, we've been able to take on board all of the concerns voiced by Parliament and finalize this agreement. And we can say, therefore, that we're the very first region in the world where there's a regulation such an important issue such as artificial intelligence. And finally, stress the work the presidency has been doing in order to try and finalize before the end of the year the negotiations on the Asylum and Migration Pact. This is an issue that we've been calling for years and years in S&D. We want a European policy that enhances solidarity among member states, solidarity also among people coming from outside the European Union, seeking a better future. And I'm absolutely confident that the next week we'll be able to conclude the negotiations in that trialogue. So therefore, I hope that in the debate that we shall have tomorrow with the President of the Government of Spain, we should be speaking about Europe, European policy, what we've been able to push through over the past months that has been a success for the European agenda, showing that we can rise to the challenge, rise to the importance of the historical moment we're living through. Also, next Wednesday, we'll be discussing the European Summit that is going to be held, where fundamental issues will be coming up, particularly Ukraine, where we need to give a positive sign on our part. Unity is more necessary than ever before, and therefore, we can't succumb to threats. We can't give in to threats. The position taken by the Prime Minister of Hungary right now, Mr. Orban, trying to block the thousands and thousands of euros that have to reach Europe, we can't permit that. We can't exchange our values for money. We can't give it to Orban. This blackmail cannot be accepted by Council. And therefore, we shall make our position very clear in our position in our debate on this. Let me also tell you that the topical debate that is taking place this week at the behest of the S&D is related to the strategy and the need of the European Union to give assistance to young people facing a housing crisis and increased cost of living. It's essential for young people to feel represented in the European project, represented in our discussions, in our debates, in our proposals, and therefore speaking about fundamental issues such as the difficulty of access that young people are encountering at the present time, access to housing. Also speaking about how young people are coping with increased cost of living. This is so important, and this is why we have wanted to put out very substantial signs along those directions. Also, we're going to have a discussion on the situation in Gaza. 2 months have elapsed since the beginning of this situation, and the decision of the Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, invoking Article 99 of the UN Charter, has our total support. There is no military solution to this conflict, and if we fail to understand this, we will not be actually finding the necessary peaceful solution based on the creation of two states that can coexist in peace. And the European Union has to take on this leadership role, and we're going to be supporting it all the way here. And last, you know that I feel particularly proud that the European Union this year is giving the Sakharov Prize for freedom of thought to Gina Mahsa Amini and the Woman, Life and Freedom Movement. This was a proposal of S&D, together with other groups that also supported it. And that means that we're placing at the very center of the European Parliament, thanks to the Sakharov Prize, the fight of women. And this is fundamental. This shows our solidarity with a very important movement. People who are risking their lives and risking their freedom for a fairer and a world with more equality. Thank you very much, Iratxe. Pietro.
Good morning, Pietro Guasamacchia, ANSA News Agency. On Sunday in Rome, there will be an event organized by the party of Giorgia Meloni. It's the youth event of Fratelli d'Italia that has been going on since several years. There are two guests that I deem interesting. One is Abascal, and I wonder what you think about the proximity within the two. And the second one is Edi Rama, the socialist Albanian prime minister that is flying to Rome to attend this event. As I recall, already in Malaga there was some misunderstanding whether on his relationship with Meloni that eventually the party decided to move on. Why is he flying to Rome now, and what's your opinion on that? Thank you.
Why is he flying? Why is the Albanian Prime Minister flying to Rome? Don't ask me, ask him. I know where we stand, the S&Ds. And the S&Ds this Friday are going to be in Rome, where I will be attending an event of the Democratic Party for the opening of the political conference. We're going to be speaking about that Europe that we progressives want to build. I can mention all kinds of arguments and explanations as to why I'm going to Rome and what that visit represents, which is total support to the Democratic Party, total support for the work that our partners are carrying out in order to put an end to a government of the extreme right that is deteriorating the social advance, not just of Italy, but also Europe. And you're asking me about the presence of Mr. Abascal. Much of the same here would be my answer. Ask Mr. Abascal, but I'll add this. Ask Mr. Manfred Weber what he thinks about the visit, if they had had the votes, of someone who would have been the vice president of the government of the EPP. And I think it is important that we enhance this question, we stress this question, because the European People's Party seems to be overly obsessed with the government of Spain and attacking a progressive government, a pro-Europe government, putting forward all of these policies I mentioned against climate change, digitalization, the European social dimension and pillar, while the Spanish presidency and the government in Spain are working on this European policy. Mr. Weber, what is he doing? He is in fact deteriorating more and more the rule of law in the European Union because of his alliances with the extreme right. He hasn't said anything about the assertions made by Mr. Abascal last week, when Abascal said that at no point would the citizens that soon the citizens would like to see the president hanging from his feet. This is totally unacceptable. This is shameful. Mr. Weber's silence over this particular assertion by Abascal, protecting his allies of the extreme right, trying to bring about sort of a huge smoke screen over the rule of law issue. The rule of law in Europe can be defended by bringing the extreme right to a halt. That is how you defend the rule of law, and that's what Mr. Weber should be concerned about. And therefore, I hope that I will hear him saying, what he's got to say about this statements about Mr. Abascal, of the one who would have been, had they had the votes, the vice president of the government, and to give the explanations of Abascal photographs with Melonin, with Orban, Adrowiecki, and all the other populists who are doing so much harm to the European project.
Muchas gracias. Anna, please introduce yourself.
Anna Vandensky from Europe Diplomatic Magazine. I have a question on the upcoming elections because it's this year is the last calendar year. And what is your position on Spitzenkandidat? Will you support this formula? If yes, what is the schedule of your party? Because when you will decide upon your candidate to stand behind him or her?
Thank you very much indeed. Of course, the S&Ds do support the idea of the concept of lead candidate. The European Socialist parties do. For this very same reason, in the Malaga Congress, we approved a timetable, a calendar where we defined the next stages to come. Soon we will have the opening process for the submission of candidates, possible candidates to the position of lead candidate. And in the month of March, a decision will be taken. If there should be more than one candidate, in the end there would have to be an election within the party. But in any case, the timetable, the calendar is ready. And in March, we'll be able to tell you who the person is who will be leading the S&D parties, the European S&D parties, in these upcoming European elections.
Iratxe, are there further questions? Yes, please, in the back.
Oui, bonjour, Emmanuel.
Yes, good morning, Emmanuel Strasser from Brussels, too. At the President's Conference, have you raised the issue of the revision of the number and their competence of the members? You have a position in your political group. We're talking, for instance, about the subcommittee on law that could disappear, according to some people.
No se ha decidido.
No decision has been taken yet at the COP. I hope that groups are giving the necessary thought to all of this. We are, for our part. We still haven't got a firm position. But there's one thing that is clear. We won't be supporting any attempt to do away with committees that are basic to us. But not just to us, S&Ds, but they are basic to the whole of the European project, such as the Human Rights Committee, for instance. Definitely won't allow that to happen. At least it won't happen with our support. The subcommittee on human rights will not disappear, not without support. Or the committee on the rights of women, for instance. Some people feel that it is a superfluous committee, not us. And so we'll see how all of this will be broached, how the discussion will be broached. But do be certain that our group will be defending all of these subcommittees from the attacks from some other groups. Human rights and rights of women, for us, that's basic.
Thank you. Yes, please. Please.
Thank you. Andrés Gil with El Diario. Quería preguntar...
I wanted to ask you if for the plenary with President Sanchez, are you expecting the same kind of atmosphere as with amnesty? Basically, it was Spaniards talking about Spain, and not really about the semester of the European Union. On the other hand, do you know whether there's going to be some kind of meeting between President Sanchez and Carrasco Simón? Thank you. Answer: no. I have no idea about any possible meeting of President Sanchez. You know that he's just coming for the presidency debate, and immediately after that, he will be attending the summit on the Balkans, so I cannot give you an answer. Now, as to the agenda, what do I expect from this debate? Well, having seen what's happened in the past, having seen also how the EPP has been acting over the past few days and weeks, I do hope that substantial part of the European Parliament will be talking about Europe, European needs. They need to work for these priorities to be pushed through, and an EPP that is obsessed with Mr. Sanchez. They haven't yet digested the fact that he's the president of Spain, or the government of Spain. Unfortunately, I'm not expecting anything from them. I'm not expecting that they would be speaking about Europe. What I will be expecting from them is an after attack on Mr. Sanchez. And I feel sorry, and it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart because the debates that we've had with all the various presidencies have always been debates where we've respected the European character of the debate. And this is yet another signal sent by the EPP how they're drifting away from European concerns. And it's not good. It's not good for us. It's not good for Europe. And in any case, it's in their hands. It's their responsibility.
Anybody else who has a question? If that is not the case, I would like to close by inviting you all. I hope you have the invitation on your desk by now to our press reception tonight in a more informal setting with Iratxe García Perez, surrounded by all the bureau, S&D bureau, so 18 hours in room C2.1 here in the house. You're very welcome. And with that, have a good rest of the week, and of course then a peaceful Christmas break and New Year. Merci beaucoup. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much indeed.
Channel 2 English.